Yeah. I think I should be on now. We'll see how long this lasts. I have been having unending problems with my computer today. So, we'll see how this goes. Hi, welcome aboard. Yeah, I'm all out of sorts, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, it's a shitty week. It's an interesting day. So I got to promote this like 15 seconds before it starts. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's get into it. Dirtiest glasses on planet Earth. That's me. You ever wondering who has the dirtiest glasses? It's this guy. There are people that work in drywall and sandblasting that have cleaner glasses than my smudged nightmares. Yep. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, today's page, I said was going to be fish and whales. I just did a whales page recently, I realized, and but we're going to see what we can do. Where am I? Here I am. Yeah, like I said, I'm out of sorts. It's been a day, and with my day, I've had to literally take things off my computer and put them back on again. And that includes the operating system that helps me put together these streams. So I had to not only reboot it, but reset the whole thing up again. So I don't have any of my sponsors on there yet or anything like that because I literally finished 3 minutes ago. So I have been able, however, to figure out this. Hey, what? What in the haze and a who's in the house? So this is the image that I did for this page. Now my camera is wonky, so I'll have to redo my camera. Hold on a sec, please. I'm going to try to sort this out. Scaling's just off. Scaling's just off a tad. We're going to figure it out. There we go. We got it. Hey, we did it, team. High five, everybody. I'm very proud of us all. Okay. So this is the image, the original image that I did in paint markers. These really cheap paint markers. And fun. They're kind of like pastels, really, the way that the colors are. And they come down so lightly that and make for a very interesting picture. So this ends up looking like, again, excuse me for a second, I'm getting used to my new settings. There's the finished page. My title today is Art and Technology, a Nightmare for Some Creators. This one, I have had a week of it. Every now and then, my computer forgets how to recognize my internet. So if I cut out today, I'm going to apologize now. I'm doing my best, but I'll tell you one thing. Pencils don't make you want to punch them in the face. But my computer screens have been in jeopardy. Hi, Jim. How are you, sir? It's good to see you. And yo. Unfortunately, I don't have, like I said, I still haven't had an opportunity to put up my my sponsors pages yet. But I'll get there. I'll get there for the next stream. And hi, Married to a Creative. Hi. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I want to punch my computer in the face. I refuse, that whole, just take it right into the shop. I tried contacting the shop for repair, and they told me I should be paying $20 a month for the additional services, which makes me want to go to my place that I got my warranty from and introduce myself to them too. Yep. Okay. Who do we got? Hey, it's Joshua Kimball. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Well, yeah, good to hear from you. Gordon Lightfoot passed away. And that is not a great thing. But if you get an opportunity, listen to some Gord. My first album that I ever bought was a Gordon Lightfoot album. It was called Gord's Gold. which is funny because Joshua Kemball's next sentence that he says is, "This episode is sponsored by Old Gold. Old Gold, you want a drink? Have one." That's not the official. That's not the official slogan for Old Gold beer, but it is with me. Well, until I come up with something else, and then something else and something else. Big thumbs up from Jim Luan. Old Gold beer, for anybody that's interesting or interested, is the beer company that is throughout Jim Luan's animations. Old Gold beer. Have a glass. Whatever you want for your slogan. But we're getting there. We're getting there, everybody. We're all in this together, right? Okay, so today's page is cheeky. I wrote it as from an editor's perspective, but there's all kinds of passive-aggressive, angry Chris in there. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm in a poopy mood because I wants to punch my computer, and you know it. Just got to keep it in line. Today's page, it actually references a number of my books. Books that are done and books that are coming out. So the first one is the Bear Fights Sasquatch Downtown, is in reference to my Elmwood series. I did 11 books of this series called Elmwood. They're, you can see that I'm learning how to do comics through these. This is the first 11. Well, it's not. I did 4 books before that, but this is the first 11 books that I was trying to do as a series. And the style changes like every book until I sort of settled in on one. And then life got in the way, right? So that's fine. I'm actually started working on Elmwood 12 there, but it's just going to be called Elmwood Final Battle. And it's actually going to summarize the first 11 books. So no need to go out and get all of them. I'm going to have a little bonfire in the backyard with them. The next reference is Reality Could Be an Illusion, is a reference to a book series that I did called SOS, or Space Opera Story. So that's what the Reality is Illusion reference is for. How you doing, Gary? Welcome aboard. Local Comics Made by a Ding Dong is a reference to One Page Comic Extravaganza. But this isn't a story. Who'd read this? I have a nephew that does comics. I'd use them before this junk. Is a reference to our media in London is not great. It's just not. It's not great. It's very, a lot of London is about the in crowd and the rest of reality. And that in crowd, which is all relegated around Western and Wortley Village, West Mountain, Byron. That's the in crowd part of the city, which now includes Masonville as the city grows. But it's almost like the rest of the city just doesn't exist. And so if you're not connected to or have money or interrelated with this whole thing, it cuts you out of so many things in a city. And trying to establish yourself identifiably as an artist in London when you don't fit into that niche has been very frustrating through my life. But so that's a passive-aggressive whine, because you'll find that the most innocuous things get covered, and then you're like, hey, here's all of these things, and you set it all out the way they expect you to set it all out, and you never hear anything from some of the services in our city, and it's kind of antagonistic. And yet the most ridiculous things come out from other people, and they get coverage. And then there's coverage from legitimate works, but at the same time, it's only their little group, and if it's not in their group, you're out. That's my rant that I didn't want to make, but I did it. Violence against computers is a serious problem across our nations. They got it coming, Jim. They got it coming. Don't trust the robots. If Seven was here, Seven would back me up on that. So I find that anytime, in anywhere, in any shape, a lot of creative careers are made by who you know. It's a sad truth, but it's a real truth. Art is a very sacrificial industry. It's and what I mean by sacrificial is that you have to, artists and creatives sacrifice themselves before. Oh, Paul, I got rants galore today because I want to punch my computer in its face. Welcome aboard, Paul Pate. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Pate. Where was I? So the problem with art is that it's very sacrificial. There's a couple of ways. Artists and all their creative outputs and all their self-expression and all their way of trying to communicate to within the world and try to assess and understand story in the world and the world that they see around them and beauty and capture emotions and to express, get the vitriol out so that they can, engage in life. All those different ways that artists approach things are an intrinsic part of them and of creativity. But it's entirely at the mercy of the people that are around them that can afford or accommodate those things. And if you're not connected to those things, how does one happen without the other? And so that's why you see a lot of creatives in really melancholic or dark or repressive moods, is because they don't know how to bridge that gap, right? And then the other part of it is a lot of that world is completely ignorant to the process of creativity. They're consumers, right? And the consumer mentality, which is a real problem in North America, is not healthy. And it's definitely not healthy when it comes to assessing the value of people's output. If I build a wall out of 2x4s, and for me to then insulate it, or for me to vapor barrier and drywall it and finish it, paint it, that's a tactile thing that you can see the benefit of in your space. But if you have no frame of reference to you, all it is a consumptive number, right? You just see it as, how much is it going to cost to get this wall made? And we all do it. We do it for everything. How much is it going to cost to get the dishwasher fixed? How much is it going to cost to switch my tires? So on and so forth. What are we saying? This is great. Christopher's on the edge. I'm on the edge with my computer. The rest of it's just normal crazy me. But I still want to punch my computer. We all sing a round of Michael Rother Bull Shore just to bring some peace. Ain't happening. I'm going to be mad at my computer all day unless somebody has a magic solution that doesn't involve me pulling its legs off. Thank goodness it isn't an animate thing. I wouldn't do that to an animate thing. Anyways, the second part of the problem of connectivity that I sort of touch on in this piece is, if you're not in the club, if you're not in the know, if you're not pals with so-and-so, or you don't frequent at this place, or in London, it's an awful lot of stuff structured around our university and the people that are in and through there and connected outwards. You find it a really hard time to bridge that step. If you don't have money, if you don't have those connections, if you're not in the club, how do you find those avenues for you to connect to the larger market or to the larger world? And I think that's a real problem. And it always has been. I'm going to be honest with you. It's always going to be. Gary Hodges says, art is one of the fields that reveals people's subconscious belief that being able to do something you love should be partial compensation. If you love doing it, that's part of your pay. Absolutely. Art is one of those things that you have an intrinsic need to do it, right? And so the cathartic return for you needs to be one thing, but it wants to be two things, right? There we go. It's a tangential rant. No, it still works. It still structures into this one. Although I don't like to think that I'm ranting. I'm ranting. Art needs to be two things: the cathartic return that you get from the creation and the exposition that your art provides you, right? So you're going to get that return. That's that sense of equilibrium, that sense of accomplishment, that sense of productivity, or the fact that you have a mode of communication to get an idea across to another, or you just get to celebrate what you need to celebrate. That's your one part of and the other expectation of return in an entirely commercial and corporate society that we live in it's capitalism, right? We live in a capitalist society. And there is an expectation of accommodation for that. If I'm doing a thing, I expect some degree of accommodation, right? Like the Joker said, if you're good at something, never do it for free. Anyways, but that's not true. If you're good at something, do it. Do it because it needs doing for you. But ideally, the second part comes together. That's fantastic. But I think that if you look at history, you're going to find that an awful lot of successful artists have money and had money. And, or their parents had money. But the point is, an awful lot of historical artists that we recognize and remember, had accommodation. It's a simple underlying thing. And the only way in order for us to find those connections, 7, it's like I whispered your name into the wind and you appeared. Hi, Janet. 7's here, everybody. Greetings, shalom, 7. I just mentioned you. I'm railing about the robots and I want to punch mine in the face. Go ahead, hit 7. Hit it. So, there's Janet. Hey, buddy. I like it. So anyways, my point is that if you want to make and create. If you want to connect to the larger world, I don't know what the magic is. You can do your best and reach out and try to solicit and promote yourself and blah, 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 all the way out there in the world and go through that whole rigmarole. That's not what a creative does. 100% honesty, that's not the principal interest at all in being a creative person, is doing those things. I don't want to do them. There we go. Thank you, 7. Don't trust the robots. I'm just going robots in general, 7, not just AI. So now that we have things like AI and the fact that it can just, there's some art, right? And there's just so many people that have just leaned into it. And now they're producing all this AI material. It's going to become an even greater challenge for creative people to find an understanding, a societal understanding in this world that there is something to this. There is something to be said to that. The act of creation and a need to support and encourage that. It's always been a problem. It's never been one of those things that seems to be a priority. If I was a warrior back in the old days with a big old axe and a big old shield and, and I made my living fighting and reaving and a jumping and a biting, and I sat down on a stone and did some poetry, I have an ability to express art, but that ability to express art still has to have that accommodation factor. Hey, Riri. So it's a challenging thing, and there's no answers. I have no answers about this. But when we have a larger world, like the connective media or or other parts of society that, you can't get your work out, you can't get accommodation, recognition, and connection unless you can figure out ways to get through whatever magic is going on in that web of media, that web of galleries, that web of publishers or promoters or distributors, whatever it is. And I think it's a healthy thing that if we have avenues and understandings and ways that we can promote and encourage each other on how we can find ways and means for that to happen, I think it's great we do it. But at the same time, I got no answers there. I've got no big notions towards how to go about it. I just know that I like making pictures and making comics. But when I say something like local comics made by a ding dong, this isn't a story. Who would read this? I don't believe that. Okay, so this is the flip side of what sounds like a crazy person rant, and I appreciate that. I don't believe that there's no reason for people to read things. I don't believe that I'm a ding dong for making comics, but what I'm trying to express in this page is that's how a lot of people see it. That's this editor's comment of local comics made by a ding dong. This isn't a story. Who would read this? I have a nephew that does comics. I'd use them before this junk. You know, that little piece of text in here sounds really angry and aggressive, but the truth of it is that that's a reality. So in London, we have a complicated system of media that just doesn't seem to have a clue of what's going on outside of their small circles. Or we have a media system that relies on Western, which isn't connected to London, by the way. Western is a city in a city. It's like the Pope's house in Rome, right? And Fanshawe's the same way. And they're students, and they expect students to have some kind of a comprehension of what's going on in the industry around them, the city around them, the communities around them. They don't. So, college and university towns. I'm pretty sure that they're like this everywhere. You know what's even worse is when you have people at the colleges that are the ones giving you insight into the community at large. Complete disconnect in reality. Anyways, do I do political satire? What do you mean? Like with Trudeau was just appeared on a page where I talked about don't listen to stupid people. And this one takes a shot at the papers. I think we all do, political statements, and we all say things that have some degree of politic to them, no matter what it is in our work, unless we draw badgers and only badgers, and they're only on their backs, and we're rubbing their tummies, and nobody does that. So, like The Nation magazine, I have no idea what that is, because I am absolutely just disconnected with the media at this point, largely because of stuff like I outlined in this page. I found it in those circles of gallery art. They want a really weird backstory for each artist. Otherwise, they ain't interested. And then Riri says, yeah. I have a ridiculous backstory. I really do. The person that I am today, and the ability to draw and things that I have, the ability to make things. I'm a maker all around the board. I can do plumbing, wiring, house building. I'm a maker. If it's something that can be put together, I'm going to figure out a way to put together. And so when it comes to all these different medium, it's just because I'm just trying to figure out a different thing. And same with music, same with writing, and I've done stand-up, like all those things. But that's because of a bad background. And that's my response to it, right? Lousy background, lousy upbringing, coming out of poverty, my physical infirmity since as an adult, right? Since I started, anyways, so it doesn't matter. I got a ridiculous backstory that I don't wear around my neck like a sign. And I think that that's probably, it has been, I refuse to do that. I refuse to be the person, oh, that's Chris. Chris is this. In order for me to get into that market. There's an awful lot of people that are leaning into this, wearing a sign. This is who I am. I'm not a person who has those things. I'm just the sign. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that that's how we have to, as a creator, I don't think that that's how we need to market ourselves, is through our own dismissal, just to accommodate the stupidity of the mob, right? So, but it's so right, Jim. Like this, they want a really weird backstory. Make one up. How about we do that? Let's all make one up. Janet says, I think we need to stop being afraid of offending. I'm pro-offensive. Shut up, Janet. No, I'm just joking. I'm so joking. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I love The Nation mag. It's an American magazine. That's great. That's great, Riri. Riri says, you're my kind of gal, Janet. If it's an ass, it's an ass. Kick it. Kick it. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Anyways, there's my rant. The rest of the page says, child lost an old McTavish homestead. Nope. Village haunted. That's a better title. So that's the editorial. Perspective on somebody tries to say, here's the actual information. A child was lost at this place. Nuh-uh. sensationalism. So that's the other statement I make in this page. I don't really care for editors. I just don't. I think that the problem with editors superseding writers when it comes to the media, editors superseding reporters that want to actually give account to what's going on in the world, and having it sensationalized, or having editors do their no, we got to put it all in this package. Get out. Anyways, Janet's offended. All right, let's do it. Let's do this. Or 3. Go round or 2 or 3 or 4. Let's everybody get in. Okay, so that's my take. This page is a little contradictory, and if it's political, it's political to some, but I don't care. I think that this is the way that editors look at things. And I tried to be contemporary by having him only look at tablets, because that's the hip thing to do now. Yeah, it was a fun page for me to do, especially since half the panels were drawn. What do we got? Riri says, I miss real reporting. Real reporting exists. I think that if you listen to college news, and if you listen to, there we go. Thanks, Paul. If you listen to college news and you hear these kids that are like, such and such at this location, they sold 250 hot dogs this weekend, but there are some people that are like protesting it because they think hot dogs are bad. Those kids are the best. They're going to tell you what's really going on in the world. Hi, I'm Sally, and I'm at the flower fair. Right? Those kids. Those are the ones that I think are still reporters. There was a reporter in the city that did a talk at a school here and told all the journalism students to don't get into journalism. You got no future here. I don't know what that is, but that's a sad state. All right, let's go to the overhead. Here we are. Hi! Big hand. So, like I said earlier, I'm trying to figure out all my settings again, and I apologize for that. I don't have my sponsors today to go up on the screen because I've literally had to reboot half of my computer. So I am a little bit behind. So there might be a little bit of wiggling in the drawing. I'll try to draw slow so it doesn't move around too much. Okay, so we just finished the newspaper editor. Pink pencil. Newspaper editor choosing the lead story. And that was from Rachel Jean Fleming. Thank you for that. That's great. Now, I said that we could do fish and whales today. Yep. That's fun. We can do that one. There's I got a number of things here. One panel, one image, one word. I'm going to do that this week. Now, we've also got dinosaurs versus Denny's bots. If you were here last week, I talked about going to Denny's, and they had a robot that brought our food out. Go to Denny's. Just for that. Go to Denny's and order nothing but French fries, just for a robot to bring you French fries. We're living in a sci-fi future. Oh, okay. Paul Pate's got a rant, everybody. He's not just handsome. He's got something to say. Real reporting can be found, but you have to look. There's less and less local reporting, though. That's a problem. That's Paul's tangential rant. And there's all kinds of real reporting that's out there. There really is. And it's just the fact that most papers are owned by conglomerates at this point. London is owned by a newspaper company out of Toronto, and that newspaper company in Toronto has all of its catch-all news, that the key points, the key information stuff. So all of that is outsourced to all of its satellite newspapers, smaller cities around Toronto. And we're still 2.5, 3 hours, depending on how you drive, outside of Toronto. So, but when you've got, here's the problem with this. if you've got one newspaper that spits out the same article for a number of smaller newspapers around it, you've got one perspective, one packaged thing. And then those other papers around it give the little bits and bites around that story, as opposed to each city having its own proper newspaper and each city having its own promotion and solicitation in said newspaper. We're moving away from newspapers. We're moving in different directions now. Information is free on the interwebs. So Josh Kemble says that the truth, the hot dog is real. The hot dog crisis is real. Yeah, it really is. It's a problem. Yeah, because we're not even going to get into the bun ratio. We're not even going to get into the bun ratio today. Hot dogs to buns. Work it out, guys. You know what? Here's my thought. This is my thought. This could even be a one page at some point in time. Somebody else do this. I don't want to do this one. I just came up with the idea. I'm not drawing it. What happened in the room the day that somebody decided for the buns and the hot dogs to not have the same amounts? What went on in that room? Which company said, well, the bakery over there puts out 8 buns in a package, but it's easier for us if we put 12 in there. So maybe they'll change. Or the other way around. What happened in that thought process that somebody said, yeah, different amounts. I'm always kidding, Riri. I've never been serious in my entire life. I can't tell a lie. It's a very, very hot topic. Speaking of hot topic, button wear. That's all I'm saying. Hot dogs. Yeah, Riri. Hot dogs are real. Jim says, you talk about media manipulation like it's a bad thing. There is a fun thing. In the 1920s and 30s, in both America and in Canada, there were, it starts before that. It starts in the 1890s. And it moves its way through in different reiterations. Every 10 years or so, you see a different reiteration of this. And it's anti-corporate, antitrust, monopoly laws. And the whole idea is that you can't corner markets, and you can't you can't own 60% of the railroad and then completely control how people get product moved around. You can't control the 35 major newspapers, Hearst, and make the information happen the way you want it to happen. Like things like that. Those were put into place. William Randolph Hearst is who I was referring to there. He actually did that. 36 newspapers at one point. What I miss about hot dogs. Got to rewind this, Gary. This is important stuff. Is there a hot dog conspiracy? Uh-huh. Is it about how we've all been fooled into thinking they're good? Hot dogs aren't good? Yeah. It tastes great. But they'll be deadly. They're deadly, yeah. The hot buns issue is also equal. Yeah. You didn't miss much, Gary. Just another case of Big Wiener trying to control the narrative. I will proudly take that as a nickname. Do they still make the hot dogs with the cheesy veins in them? Oh my God. Yeah. Hot buns are bad? No, hot buns are good, but the dogs know what they're up to. All right. That's how we get sidetracked, folks. That's it. Whatever you do, don't mention Star Wars. Okay, so yeah, so the whole problem with it ever since then with the media is that they found workarounds. All the major corporations have found workarounds. The majority of the gas is controlled through 5 major corporations, and when they get caught being a corporation, they break off into subsidiaries. The same people still run the subsidiaries. It's no different, right? Star Wars triggered. Welcome, and it's just how the world works now. It's anything that a non-entity or corporation can do to find a workaround for the things that try to keep humanity balanced. They'll do it because at the end of the day, it's all about what is it? I guess let's call it hot dog funds. Yeah. So the price of tickets for Star Wars. Anyways, so okay. So there's a couple of fun things that are on the docket here. I've got some comics coming up. A Jim and Gary top 5 comic I want to do today. I got to figure out which one we're going to do. Here's the suggestions that we get to choose from, and if people want to vote in, they can vote in, because I personally have no particular leaning towards anything. But there's Christopher versus Evil Christopher. I believe that Christopher to be me because I'm a narcissist. No, it's because a person suggested I do a version of myself, good self and bad self. They're going to look exactly the same. Anonymous has the earth is flooded with the diversity. I figured out what that word is. I can read my own writing for a week. Earth flooded with a diverse amount of creatures that science has decided will be a good idea. And a whole bunch of robots. And scientists will discover the gnome genome. That was the Kremlinator that suggested that. And science takes a vacay to Peru. I like that. All the scientists are in Peru. That's fun. I'm missing a bunch of stuff. Baby Yoda loves hot dogs, especially in his IG robot suit. Instagram robot suit? I don't know what that's a reference to, unless it's IG-88. No. We're not getting into Star Wars. I cut and paste. Welcome aboard. Jim says, I'm a grown-ass man, and I just said that sentence. Christopher, next comic, Cassandra Peterson transferring fighting zombies, political leaders, and George Romero style coming to get you. This is your next comic, 7? Kick it! That's cool, 7. That's good. Get at it. Yeah. Music today is The King of Limbs by Radiohead. If you get a chance, and I'm only just listening. You started it. No, you did. You. Anyways, I will put you both in the corner. I will separate you. Do you want me to separate you? That's what my mother would say. Do you two need to be separated? Like she gave us the decision to separate or not. No. Just like saying, buckle up. You're getting some more, lady. All right. So I think I'm going to do All the Scientists Take a Vacation to Peru in 500 years. I think it was Cat. All scientists take a vacay to Peru. It says vacation, but I've decided it's vacay. All right. And you know what? I'm going to do it bigger than this. This paper ain't big enough for me. If those that join late, that's the original page from today's posting that I put out. And, there you go. All right, I'm switching my music. Everybody, if you get an opportunity, listen to the album Melville by the Rheostatics, because they do a cover of Gordon Lightfoot's record of Edmund Fitzgerald on it. However, let's change that. Listen to Gordon Lightfoot. Gordon Lightfoot is a joy. And the album I would recommend, Gord's Gold. First record I bought as a kid. If you can imagine a 9-year-old kid going into a place. 9? No, I think it was 11. I bought my first record at 11, if I remember correctly. And I bought Gordon Lightfoot's Gord's Gold. And I bought Janis Joplin Pearl. That's a weird kid. All right. Okay, I'm all set. So, in 500 years, all scientists are going to be going to Peru. Joshua Kimball suggested this one. Thanks, Kat. Gosh bagosh. Here we go. Before, in order to get out some of my frustration, if you can imagine the energy I had before, I listened to "They Can't All Be Zingers" by Primus. You want some music that's either going to make you dance or break a thing? That's the music. I'm wondering, just for interest's sake, I referenced Ray Charles, Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music, and a couple of people were interested in that. Was anybody able to find that online? Because it's on Spotify. Nobody puts Baby in a corner. I put that cat in a corner all the time. I have a cat named Baby. I put her in the corner whenever I get a chance. She sleeps on the chair in my corner. She's actually in it right now. She's sleeping on the chair in the sitting area beside my studio here. So Baby gets in the corner all the time in this house. Riri loved that album. Excellent. Sundown, you better take care. If I find you, creeping down my back stairs. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, there's a sad news. Gordon Lightfoot passing away today. But Gord's old. So yeah, unfortunately we lost him there to time. But I appreciate the time that we had with him. All right, I'm gonna get my goofy mug off the screen so that you can see what it is that I'm doing. So Peru. Let's start with Peru. Because does anybody? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for establishing in this first third of the page an identifiable way to recognize Peru, and I think that can anybody think of any major landmarks? I went to see Burl Ives in concert a few years ago. I would not get in the mosh pit. Burl Ives, come on, man. I went and saw Gomer Pyle. Yeah, I can't think of any Peruvian landmarks. So I just typed in Purdue, and I got pictures of the university. So if anybody's thinking of going there, I could direct you around that. Is Peru the one that's got the... I know it's got Machu Picchu. But does it have any other big landmarks, or is it really just Machu Picchu? Well, let's just use Machu Picchu. All right. Machu Picchu, for those that don't know, is a mountain face that looks kind of like... Mosh was the sound all the adult diapers made at the concert. That completely changes that Anthrax song. Completely changes Cotton and Mosh by Anthrax. I'm just saying. I was recently trying to remember Burl Ives' name. It's Frosty. Frosty the Snowman. Well, it's not. He's the narrator for that. But all right. So there's a mountain range behind it. That it's a cliff face or mountaintop city, little mini city, and it's really hard to get to the valley from the valley below, except for the fact that maybe it wasn't. And what I mean by maybe it wasn't is it's a steep incline. But as archaeology, because it's only been 100 years since it was really starting to be excavated, as archaeology is excavating more, they've realized that the entirety of that hillside leading up to Machu Picchu, the entirety of that space going up that mountain, may well have been terraces. So it's not like it's just this city on top of a mountain. Hold on, let me see if I can find. Here's the picture. This is a city on top of a mountain, but going all the way down were terraces of fields, little mini fields that they would plant crops and things on. So it's not like it was just a city, boink, up in the middle of nowhere. You could get up there. It was just going to be a little bit of work. Burl Ives is a narrator of Frosty the Snowman. That's how I remember him when I was young. There's if you get a chance, a lot of those Rankin and Bass cartoons that would come out at Christmas, like the Yukon Cornelius and the elf that wants to be a dentist, and the abominable snowman, and Rudolph, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer one, and then Island of Misfit Toys, all of those different Rankin and Bass cartoon bits. Well, I think they're actually plasticine or some kind of puppetry, but a lot of them, and then Frosty and those all fit in. So they did one for Halloween. It's called Mad Monster Party, and if you get a chance, please look it up. It is so fun. It's got Boris Karloff playing himself. He is the uncle of this young kid who's going to inherit this big wealthy castle, but every year, all the monsters come to this castle to have a wild swinging time. He's got a skeleton band that looks like the Grateful Dead. Well, they're supposed to be the Grateful Dead, but the band is just pure skeletons. And so this whole Hotel Transylvania movie wasn't the first one to do that. Oh, also Phyllis Diller's married to Frankenstein in it. She is the Frankenstein's bride. So she calls him Frankie. Hey, Frankie. Yeah. It's I'll write it down for you, so just so the research can check it out. It's Mad Monster Party, but it's got there's a shot where the creature of the Black Lagoon rises up. I think I'm trying to remember this correctly. It rises up out of the punch bowl going, and his eyes are rolling around. His eyes are rolling around because it got drunk in the punch bowl. Oh my God, just ridiculousness. All right, so anybody got anything they're working on now that I've had my absolute crazy rant about the art field in general? If anybody has insights and anybody has any thoughts and anybody has any, ways that we can all support and encourage each other to work creatively and to produce stuff, if people have ins on how they got to wherever they are with what they're doing. Like, here's the thing I don't talk about too much. My wife and I started a comic publishing house here in London in 2015. And because we were going to put out some of the books of mine that she found in a drawer, because I've been working on them while I was doing commissions and portrait work, and just never got to getting them published, more than a couple of copies for the people I drew one of them for. But if Mad Monster Party, nice, good man. Yeah, it's so good. So we started this thing in 2015, and by the time I'm done, I'm burnt out by the time that COVID hit. We had published 70 books and about 250 people, because we did 16 anthologies. Well, no, we did 19 anthologies if you count one that had 8-page submissions that would continue from issue to issue, and then 15 that were 4-page short stories. And then we did a bunch of solo books and then a bunch of my lunatic offerings. And so if anybody ever wonders how you go about doing that, please let me know, and I'll do what I can to help you with that, because it's there's so many things that you can do on the ground level, in a sort of grassroots punk rock aesthetic, where you're not reliant on crowdsource funding or things like that, which work for people, right? But don't allow yourself to understand that when you go to crowdfunding, the customers that you're getting there, you're bringing there largely, right? It's just a place in order to collect those monies. Because I don't find that crowdfunding brings much more than that to it, no matter how much solicitation that you might do. And I also find it's a fantastic vehicle for really obnoxious, annoying salespeople to find you and to tell you that they're going to give you all the marketing secrets of the universe for this much money. So it's a system that's got its own built-in systems. And yet, there are people that have had successful times about crowdfunding their books and getting their stuff out. But I'd be surprised if the data didn't show that the majority of the supports for those books were actually brought by those creators. You build up people over time, sure, but for the most part. And then you can burn out an audience doing that too, right? You can only expect people to buy so many of your books about cats or whatever that is. Hey, how you doing, Tori? Welcome aboard. I've been losing my mind today, Tori. Okay, so this is the structure of the mountaintop, and I'm going to get my big goofball head out of the way. Goodbye. Goodbye. Yeah. All right, so do you want to see the picture I'm working from? Does anybody? Hey, yeah, Jim, I read that too. I read that too. I've got a really great Jack Davis book, and you're right. He totally did. Yeah, that's not going to work because it just flashes on this. He totally did design a bunch of things for it. It's true. Where's the last place you put it? I'll help you. I'll help you look for it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, where did I lose my mind? Who knows? Now this is what I'm talking about. That's the exaltation of fun, creative fun. And the early mad guys were a real bunch of idiots. The regular bunch of idiots is how they were described. So great. So I've done this self-publishing stuff, and it's really easy to do if you can just sort out a couple of arrangements with local shops. If you can get picked up by distribution and stuff like that and all that jazz, that's fine. But if you're starting really grassroots and you only print out X amount of copies, like 100 copies, 200 copies, and you sell them specifically through local stores, then it has the viability of covering your immediate expenses and then a little bit extra. And if you pay yourself back your initial cost on that first book out of the little bit extra, by the second, possibly, third book, your initial investment should be paid back, in addition to paying for the cost of those 3 books. And from that point forward, depending on 2 things. One, if you've established growth in the immediate market, like people are enjoying what you're doing and want more of it. And 2, if you branch out further and start going to other shops around, then you're going to see growth in your thing. So that's how you do a real grassroots punk rock, immediate books on the street kind of a thing. You could do different events and craft shows and street fairs and local conventions, but factor in the fact that if you're doing a convention, even if it's in the next town over, gas costs count. You got to count those things in. It doesn't, now you can write a percentage of it off to say, well, the experience was priceless. Well, Seven says he thinks that my cat has found my mind. It's toying and playing with my mind in the corner over there. Baby? No, she's sleeping. I checked. It's a good idea though. So that's how I managed to build up the RP comics and for us to produce that much material. Now, it's not to say that it's the most advantageous way if you're looking for, some degree of accommodation from your books, or you're looking for a wider network of distribution. That's not going to work, plain and simple, because the distribution is you in a vehicle driving around or taking a bus or whatever mode of transport you have to get from A to B to C to D, right? So that's not going to work. Now, if you go to the route of a distributor and you submit your work to them and they're looking at your stuff and saying, yeah, there's some viability for what you do. A lot of times those distributors will need X amount of copies of books to be given to them for them to distribute, for them to solicit in their promotional materials. And there could be costs for the solicitation. So as soon as you step out from that regional only, attack point for putting your materials out, as soon as you step out from that, immediate costs, immediate furthering of expenses. You're doing booths at conventions, those cost money. You're going to travel to another city to promote your books or whatever, that costs money. You're going to, all of those little things factor in the long run. Seven's singing ABBA. So consider those things before you overburden yourself or get too deep. But cons, local cons anyways, are really fantastic opportunities and possible avenues for you to connect to a larger community than just your peer base. And it's a great opportunity for you to try to get, more people looking at what you do. So something to think about anyways. London has a large convention and a smaller convention, and I've never done a smaller convention in town because I'm involved in the planning of the larger one. But even if I wasn't involved in the planning of the other one, like that doesn't keep me from going to the other convention. I have that's where I'm loyal. No, I don't have any of that nonsense. I just, look at the cost, and I refuse to pay what they want for a table cost for such a minor convention. There's got to be some degree of recognition for cons that if they're a legitimate comic convention, they got to realize that, that doesn't serve artists at all, but they're not interested in artists and conventions, really. Comic conventions tend to be all about, William Shatner, or I'm going to meet the cast of Buffy, It was my favorite show 20 years ago. Now you got all the beer-bellied, middle-aged Buffy actors. Power Rangers. A lot of those actors from back then there's those that still stay in the whole, the still in fit shape and still out and pursuing that career in front of picture boxes. But then there's those other ones that, they've aged, and they've aged comfortably. And it's funny because I respect that more than, I'm at peak physical condition. I've had all kinds of halogen shoved in my face. I've seen some of the cast of Star Trek Next Generation in person, and except for LeVar Burton, man, the guy hasn't aged a day. There's LeVar Burton. There's a class act, by the way. The amount of stuff that guy did for literature and for promoting education in inner communities, and he gets such little recognition for it. It's really sad. There's 7. William Shatner. Yep. I've already told people here my Shatner story. I got a chance to talk to him for all of 3 seconds. When we had him as a guest, is there any specific questions you'd like for if we have you on the stage to do for an interview, Mr. Shatner? He says, no, I'll interview myself. And he did. He just got up and talked about experiences, right? And he didn't need anybody up there with him. But just the fact that he said, no, I'm going to interview myself, was just cracked us up. So there's a lot of little buildings. So the whole structure of this city is that it defines by establishing in the opening shot Machu Picchu. And I'm going to draw it. This is the frame, is that I'm going to use is this, but I'm actually not going to lock myself specifically into the frame. I'm going to let it bleed out and over. And I'm going to throw some watercolors on this page, I think. That's my thinking. That's the thinking, huh? That's the notion, anyways. So yeah, so if you get a chance, listen to Melville. And the band is the Rheostatics. Is that in camera? That's in camera. And then listen to Gordon Lightfoot. Anything you can. Wonderful, wonderful performer. There's certain people that I don't think get enough recognition. And if you look at the structure of Gordon Lightfoot's lyrics, and then you see how he greatly influenced how other writers' poeticism comes out, like how other writers sort of structure their songs. There's certain people, like I would suggest that Ron Sexsmith, the way that he writes his lyrics is very, very reminiscent of how Gord would do his, and the Rheostatics would be another group. Tragically Hip. There's definitely some similarity in how Gordon Downey from the Tragically Hip would write his songs. So these angled roofs that I'm doing that are moving through the environment, I'm trying to get a sense of motion through here and through here, because that's the underlying structure that shows itself in a photo of Machu Picchu. Jim says, gotta step away. Thanks again for letting me express my feelings and my utter silliness. You are always welcome to do both of those, sir. It's really important that we all have an opportunity to voice out whatever. And, you can't do a page like the one I posted today without having some degree of, well, you're clearly expressing some thoughts and ideas in it. And it sometimes there's some benefit in expressing to others that I'm not, just becoming irrational here. I'm legitimately stating things that I understand to be true. Is your understanding necessarily the correct one? Not always, but at least you're trying to voice those things and to come to some level of comprehension. But there's certain things that I think that we all expressly understand. For those of you that are in the States, I mean, there's no bias in your media at all. It's very clearly nonpartisan. Especially after that latest court trial. I mean, Okay, I made a reference there that I didn't fully structure out in my own head. That court trial, was that related to we said something bad and we got sued over it, so we have to pay the company that we said did a bad thing money because it's slanderous? Is that what that was? Nonpartisan, are you on drugs? No. Do I play in a jug band? No. I'm on all kinds of drugs. Prescription medication. There's a future idea to put in a comic, is the black market drug community in the future is going to be entirely pharmaceutical. Nobody's selling any illegal addictive substances. They're all selling Tylenol and decongestant. It's so hard to get it anywhere at that point, right? All right, I'm gonna treat myself to a candy. I'm very excited. It's a chocolate, dark chocolate. Not that exciting. All right. So the way that I do these pages is in 500 years is always, or it says 500 years from now is how I have it. 500 years from now goes up in the top left corner of each of these pages, and then we get into the narrative. So my first thing that I'm putting out is that in 500 years from now, people have actually settled Machu Picchu. So in order for it to recognizably be Machu Picchu, what I'm having to do is get the recognizable landscape down, but then I'm gonna soup it up a little bit, make it a little bit space age, So the other thing I do in these pages is that whenever a person is, in the image, I put these little shapes and little stickers or little colors on their faces. That's the cultural aesthetic that I keep putting in these. Who knows? Maybe they'll pick up and everybody starts wearing pasty dots on their cheeks. A girl can dream. So the other thing that I'm trying to show is scaling, so that you'll see the shapes are getting larger and following a directional movement all around here, but at the same time, I want them to they get a little bit larger as they come towards us, and then at the same time, we're looking down on them with our camera, our perspective here. So I want to continue this throughout the image. The little things, right? It's the little things that sort of add up to finishing an image off. Like with these shapes here, as I put those down, now I need to make sure I fit inside of these a little bit of ham hockey sci-fi shapes going inside. Has anybody found in their pursuit for their explorative creativity there anything that's really held them back? Like, have you ever come across situations like where, you're trying to get to places in a crafting event at the mall where a whole bunch of people are doing stalls, and because oftentimes those can be highly problematic scenarios too. everybody vying for their materials to be seen. And excuse me. Everybody trying to get some degree of recognition in that place. We did one where we were promoting the last book, and there was a fella who brought about 30 or 40 paintings, 3x4 paintings on canvas. I saw this whole event of him loading them out of his vehicle, bringing them into the center of what was a shopping mall, like a large mall, and all of the artisans were all throughout the central spaces of this mall. And he stacked them. He laid them down, one on top of the other. That's how he was promoting his paintings. And he was working on one, this abstract thing, and he was looking very invested in very hard considerations before he went with the color of paint. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and he'd stand back for a minute. Mm-hmm. Sure is blue. I don't know what he was thinking. Blue. Still blue over here. Yeah. But his paintings were all laying, horizontally, one on top of the other. So you get some interesting characters at this thing, but the level of, he had to be center in the show, and he'll do a live demonstration for others. And then he displayed his work like that and was mad because nothing sold. And it's like, that is really one of the most ridiculous things I think I've seen in a while. Does anybody have a solution as to how he could have possibly sold some of those paintings? All right, so I'm putting little bibs and bobs and additional shapes that are not at Machu Picchu right now. If you were to go up there, like rooftops, there are no rooftops at Machu Picchu at the moment. The buildings, the roofs were all wood and have long since rotted away, collapsed. But the foundations of those and the stone walls and everything, that's all still there. That's the part that we get to see as the ruin right now. So Janet says observing stupidity can become a full-time job. That's how I intend on retiring, Janet. Is a park bench in the center park of London here, Victoria Park. I'm just going to sit on a park bench and watch them walk by. Complained about how things were back when I was a young man. We never had choices, happiness. You kids today, you think you just got any all the squirrels you can eat here. That's my plan. Not a very good plan. Victoria Park doesn't really have those in London. Victoria Park is more of the picnic tables with people sleeping on top of them. Oh, Tori says so true, Janet. Janet lives in a resort community. You just look out my window. A resort community. Excellent. Does your resort community have like a pool, like a resort pool that you get to watch the Cabana Boys go and yeah, right. Those guys at the side of the pool, and then you recognize the fact that those are the dudes that put chlorine into the water. Someone that I know, his parents refused to swim in the pool in in the senior living area that they live in Florida. They absolutely refuse to swim in that pool because the guy that does the chlorine just doesn't know what he's doing at all. Like, just doesn't. There's no part of him that inspires an ounce of confidence in them. He's like, then why don't we move you, Mom and Dad? If you, the whole reason you're here is because of that pool. And nope, we're staying where we are. It drives them crazy. Just because we can't swim doesn't mean we have to move. And the whole reason they bought the condo there was purely for that pool. The gated communities all have pools, tennis courts. The destination is for lake activities and golfing primarily. Shannon, I got a backyard, right? If I want to golf, I just got to shout forward before I hit it towards my neighbor's house. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Pate. My local art group, which I'm no longer a part of, puts on these great art shows. It was always fun to see the artists present their work and what they thought was the best way to sell. Can you think of any exotic ways to sell their work, though, Paul? Can you think of any completely counterintuitive ways, like taking a whole bunch of paintings you've done and stacking them one on top of the other and then being mad because no one will look through them? That they don't want to disrupt. If you're doing a live performance or a live presentation of your painting in an art show, you will not sell things like you would otherwise because they don't want to disrupt your painting. If you have somebody that's there that will sell paintings for you, is the only opportunity you have for selling paintings in that regard. But if you're just painting and expecting to sell stuff at the same time, it won't happen. Hey, it's Paul from the Pentagon. Pentagon Paul. I love it. That's alliteration, y'all. I tried to stay away from that pyramidal shape, largely because, pyramids. Oh. So one of the things that you can do there's such a thing as if you have a perspective point and your perspective point is here and you drag all your lines this way, that's not going to match up, right? And but if you have your perspective point, like say an imaginary point there, and then you drag all your lines, a nice little contour point from there, that's where you can start to do war perspective. It's something to play with, folks, if you haven't tried it before. It's something that I like doing stuff like that. I like warping things around in drawings. I think that it was something that, honestly, I really did not try much of when I was younger, but but as I get older, I'm trying anything at this point. I'll try anything at this point. Yeah, my perspectives that I express a lot of times in my comic pages. There's once you're doing a page, you can make some political choices as you're doing your artwork to sort of try to curb your level of independent individual opinion, just so that it has more palpability for both sides of some arguments, right? You can do that, or you can try to sort of just soften the tip of the arrow as well, but it's going to leak through your work, especially if you're doing repetitive pages, like one page after another image, where you're telling the recurrency of story. Your opinion is going to come across, your perspective, your your mindset. It's completely natural that it's going to out, and that's fine. Own it. Own it. You know, if people are picking up your stories and your work, and you know, if it's your first one out of the gate, you're setting the tone. But if it's not, and people are coming towards your work because they have interest in it, chances are they've already been exposed to it. So just be who you are. Says the person who does the best as he can to tone down the crazy. Oh, this is in response to the question I had about how do people display their work at a group show. Paul says, some hang them, some have circular racks, some have baskets. Some will argue about how their location is unfair. They were all so different. Some are real picky, too. I thought it was kind of funny. Christopher trying anything at this point. It's a scary thought, son. I used to put together some group shows back in the 1990s, good Lord. And I had two women arguing to the extent that they were going to get into a full-on fist fight because of their work. Both of them. One person wanted to be near the front door because the natural light of the windows, but also because they want to be the first person that people see when they come in the show. That was her argument point. And the other woman's argument point was that her work demands natural sunlight. It demands it. And so somebody said, you really got to go over there and talk to these two because they look like they're going to come to blows. And so I did something kind of stupid in hindsight, but at the time, that's just how I did it. I walked over and without a lot of thought, hey, you guys are having a hard time over who's here in this spot, even though we've all agreed on where each of us are going to exhibit. You really want to be contentious about this? You know, I said to the person who was contesting that they thought they should be in that spot over the other one. They were literally one beside the other, and it was who was going to be here. And and they shared a studio, by the way, which is even better. Can you imagine being in that studio? So they're like, yeah, and I'm a bit fed up with it. And the other girl goes to poke the other one. And so the other girl says, so we're getting physical now, like this. And somebody said to me right then and there, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about this? And I said really loud, louder than you would say in a normal conversation. I said, no, I want to see him fist fight it out. I think everybody here would just enjoy that kind of stupidity. It's terrible. It is so not the way to operate organizing a group show is to say, hey, let the artists fight it out, you know. But they literally, both of them just literally realized that there's 30 artists in the show and the whole room is looking right at them, right? Fine. Okay, fine. You want to have the spot? Have the spot then. You know, it was just immediately resolved. Immediately. Like, no, the whole thing was over. And, but I looked at it like children. Now, at the time, I think only my oldest was born at this point, because this is around 92. Yeah, so my oldest was still a baby. 93, I think it was. And because she's just a little one walking around. And I just, you know, how would I handle this if this was my kid fighting about something like this? You know, I'd say something like, well, you know, if you're going to behave that way, that's what's going to happen. Thankfully, my daughter was never involved in any fights or anything like that because, you know, Dad would have said something dumb in that situation, too. Oh, Didi thinks that was great. Okay, well, that's nice. Thank you, Didi. Back in the day when I used to sell stuff, I found it situational. If I managed to get into a posh handmade art fair, I found the smarter I was dressed oddly helped. And charging more helps. Yeah, no, that's true. Weird, I know, Tori says. No, that's completely true. If you put on this presentation of, well, my work is worth this, then people will pay you money for your work. Mind you, less people will do so. right? Less people will do so because you might sell consistently and you might sell well, but you would see higher volumes of sales for products if they were all priced lower. But you still might not make as much money, right? So it's a really weird thing, but it's completely true. Janet says, I believe that, Tori. Never give your stuff away. Here I am doing what I do every day. It's like, if it was country fairs, I took a Wheel of Fortune thingy. Everyone loves a freebie, so it drew a crowd and up sales. Like you had the big spinning wheel, and let's spin the wheel and see what do. Yeah, those are great. There's a funny thing. Look around the space. If anybody that sees one of those, or if you have one of your own, look around the space, and you'll see that there are some people like, oh, neat, and then there's some people that just hate the people with the spinning wheel. There's just such contempt on their face. And that contempt is entirely based in the fact that they didn't think of it themselves. Oh, so-and-so over here promoting their stuff. Yeah. If I didn't enjoy it, I'd soon quit. Yeah, I don't do anything I don't enjoy if I can help it. If I'll figure out a way to make it fun, or next thing. You gotta have some fun. You gotta do things because they fill your soul up. Should never feel like a chore. That's absolutely true. There's people that have the same setup for every event that they go to, and it's been their setup for however many years. Back in these days, we used to get sales like this, and it's like, well, revitalize your stuff, shake it up. Shake it up, Buttercup. And no, this is the way we do it now. This is the way that we had a lady beside us. The way her display is the way that Harold likes it set up. That's the way it's going to be. She just complained through the whole show. And then there was another lady who was the two ladies that were closest to us at the last maker fair that we went to. They were both the one lady. She's just kicking it. Can she kick it? She can kick it because they had it rocking. She had her stuff all set so people could flip through it. They had so much of it face out so that people could see it. They had cards that you could just flip through right here. It was so well organized, and she had it so set up to be so accessible. She was doing so well through the whole weekend. And meanwhile, on the opposite side of us, a person had the exact same stuff. Literally almost go for go, the same kind of watercolors of birds and flowers and things like that. And crickets, because the woman beside us got up and was nice to people. And that's her whole, she's a maker. She makes things and she wants to share those with others. That's the cathartic return for her, is the making. But the secondary cathartic return that I talked about earlier is engaging with people. Look what I did, right? That's cute, Billy. Look what I can do, Mom. You know. But this woman, just a ball of bitterness. Such an expensive display setup that she had. She sat there in a chair with her daughter and jabbered all weekend. She sold 2 pieces, and one of them we bought. So, just because, you're sort of like, oh, I'll buy one. Before she sets the whole building on fire, So, yeah, it was a little ridiculous, but it's what it was. Okay, so right here, I'm going to put a crazy organic shape thing sticking out. We're going to get into some fun in the sun now and sci-fi this sucker up. Kat says, I used to love hanging out in a small gallery scene when I lived in the city, especially openings with free booze. But local art shows scare me. You got to elaborate on how they scare you, Kat. You have to. You have to stand. No sitting. Exactly true. You have to stand. I got a table set up with books all over it, and I'm still standing the majority of the weekend. I also do this thing. If you still want to work while you're doing it, and working draws attention. If you still want to work while you're doing a show, bring a clipboard, and I do this the whole time. I stand there, and as I'm standing, I'll be drawing upside down. And it's not upside down to me. I can see it. There it is right there. But you'd be surprised. Like, so you can just go, hey, man, how's it going? What's up? You take a look. There's lots of books, right? And you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. People, first, they want to come and look. And you see how many people, you can count how many people over the course of the weekend try to turn their heads like this, like that's going to erase your pictures that are going, what are you drawing? So you turn it around. No, they do this. It's fun. 7 says, I agree, Janet. I don't like it or anything anymore. Try something else. Yeah. Anything you don't like, go for it. I love my clipboard. Oh, excellent, Janet. You gotta love carrying a clipboard with you at these events. Think of this technology area. Have a big screen scrolling through your portfolio can help. We live in a world of instant gratification. If they can't see it easily, they won't bother looking. And some of the problems with those scroll screens, though, is that there's this one kid that had a scroll screen, and he had it on a large monitor. And people just looked at it. Cool. Oh, I like that car. That's cool. And he's like, yeah, these are all the originals right here. Oh, cool. They just turn back and look at the monitor. And he sold one picture the whole weekend, but he always had at least one person at his booth. It's kind of sad. So it can be a double-edged sword sometimes. The technologies, you know. So I'm just putting some organic technology shapes in here. Just trying to populate the space up a little bit. Yeah, clipboards are fab. They're actually fab. Oh, you said dab. Yeah, it does suck. It does suck when that sort of thing happens. But he also, these are the originals. He did that thing where, he's just too nervous to talk to people. That's if you're really nervous and you don't want to talk to people and you've got a booth at an event that you paid for, bring your friend that talks a lot. Because those friends will always promote you more than you ever would. Because they like to chat, they like to talk, and there's nothing wrong with that. You need that. Your whole point of being there is to say to other people, "Hey, look what I did." So, you need this. That's also a good sales technique. You need this. Don't do that. Janet says, don't bring me because I'm all about the snark. No, Janet, you're the best one for other people to, can you watch my booth for a second? They're not going to sell anything while they're gone because you'll be like, this ain't a library. My brother could draw, this sort of stuff too, but I think he'd be better than you. Oh, my brother's better than you. I don't react well. I got to be honest. When some people say things like that, my brother draws, I guess he's really good. He's a little bit better than you are, and I go, ha ha. It's pretty sad. What do we got here? Where is it? Janet, you make an awesome wingman. Only because you appreciate the snark. Don't put on a luchador mask. No, do not wear a luchador mask at your booth, 7. Do not do that. That is not going to get you sales. It's not going to solicit sales for you. Except for there's an artist in Japan, I believe it is, called Rock and Jelly Bean. And he wears a luchador mask at all times. That's his shtick. And he has an entourage that travels with him and largely explains that he's not a crazy person. He's an exotic artist. And the people go, ah, okay. So whatever it is, be who you are. People will, if it's the work is the work, and the work is says something, or it says that, speaks of its own, of your ability, if you present it nice, that's all great, but you can polish a turd, and it doesn't mean people want to hold it, right? If you're putting your best foot forward with your work, generally the right person will eventually come along. And if it's not, if you're getting crickets where you are, and you've got something saleable, and you've got something that, people might engage and like, but you're not sell anything at the Rib Fest, it's because you got rib booths on either side of you, and you're in the wrong place to sell your paper mache dolls. So I hope there's in some place somewhere there's a person trying to sell paper mache dolls at a Rib Fest. Hey, that's why it ain't working. He's right. They like the ribs. Oh boy, where was he before? And if I could just reach that one person, and I've changed the world in the better. So we're going to put a couple of nicely smooth shaped mountains up here in the background. And a couple little mountains there, and people like to climb those. We're going to do that. Color it in a majestic Prussian blue. Maybe have some wisps of cloud snaking through there, and inside the valley, just little brushes of it. And all the kids will love them. I love clouds. I like to go for a nice hike on the weekends there with my pet squirrel. And a little downward slope here. Just gonna come in there with some color, or possibly on a knife, and just scratch that in there. Just get some color in on those mountains. And this is entirely for the benefit of the people that are only listening. Yeah, we're gonna put some beautiful sloping hills in here, and just to make everybody happy there. Who doesn't like some sloping hills, eh? Yeah. Boy, this would be a heck of a long way to climb up, but once you're there, the view would be spectacular. Yeah, we're going to put some fun little shapes over here, and I'm just going to do this for the rest of the stream. Yeah. Put a little guy in here, just a little popping up there. Hey, hi, how are you? Look at me. A little doodad there, and like a little space fridge or something there. Yeah, I think that you can sound really jaded about the art world and things like that, but I think it's more important to be realistic about the structure of how things go. It's very much still one of those rich people pursuits, the world of art. And if you go in there unprepared for the fact that that's sort of the way that it runs, and that's sort of the way that it works, you're going to be disappointed. But whatever you do, especially if you're self-publishing books or marketing yourself, try to look for avenues that cost less money. Try to look for directions and places that isn't not entirely contingent on you spending hundreds or thousands of dollars before you can put your wares out on the table. Because you got to count all that against your sales. You really do. If you're going to be realistic in how you look at what it is that you're doing, you've got to recognize the fact that all of those actions that you've taken, that's lost revenue. That's expenses. That's expenditures. That's the boring part. That's the boring part of making. That's the part that sort of takes it from being just this freewheeling act of creativity, this sort of, yeah, I'm an artist and I'm all bohemian. Well, you gotta hope there's some measure of accommodation for old bohemian Bobby over there, because otherwise Bobby won't be sticking around. That's why a lot of artists have day jobs, because of pragmatism, right? There's this, you're always going to see people that are like, yeah, I focus entirely on my art. Somebody else pays for that, right? Somebody else accommodates that decision. And then you'll see those people that say, like, there's certain American artists in the last so many years that would absolutely refuse to mention the fact that they teach school, they teach at college level or at high school level or whatever it is, because they have bills to pay. No, they're an artist, and they only let people think of them as just the art person. But it's just, okay, whatever works for you, but just be who you are. Be who you are. People appreciate that more. Unless you're a maniac. But it's sad. It's a sad truth that we have to rely on media or whatever it is to get the word out, to get the images out for other people to be able to see what it is that we're doing. That's a sad reality. And because usually those people are grossly uninformed. I can't stand critics either. If you haven't figured this out yet, Chris really hates the internal bureaucracy, middle people. Get them out of there, right? I don't like lawyers. I don't like, anybody that's sort of in the middle of the process. And the process will either work or it won't. But you and being in the middle of it is just making it last longer, right? Just making it more complicated. Kat says, I've personally known some wealthy art collectors, and it amazes me how little they know about the work that they collect. I saw a house. Now, I went to this house and I saw a horse piece. There was a horse sculpture there. I knew for a fact it was John Holland's work, which is an artist that came out of London here. And I literally watched this person crane the statue back so they could look at the signature that was on the bottom of that statue. I'm like, you spent a minimum of $10,000 on this. Is all that went through my head. Janet says, be who you are. I'm someone who loves a higher standard of living, eating, wearing clothes, driving a car, being insured. Yeah. Be realistic. You want to live in the world and live comfortably and be who you are. It doesn't mean that you can't necessarily pursue an avenue. I've always had to do other things, because I'm raising kids. I got a family, I got responsibilities, and so for years I'd have multiple jobs. And the kids are all adults now. Right? And as much as some people say the kids are adults, job's done. They're on their own now. That's not true. If you got those adult maniacs, it's not true. But you try to teach them self-reliance and all those sort of things along the way, for sure. So I'm at the point now where, with the things that have gone on in our lives in the last couple of years, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. This is the first opportunity I've really had in my life to just pursue my creative shtick. And so I'm going for it. Like, I'm not doing it half acres. Like, if you're enabled to spend a good burst of your time to pursue this, and you don't, well, I don't feel like trying to. And I'm not talking about health. I'm not talking about the physical health and stuff like that. I'm talking about, well, I've got a video game I want to play. Well, that's your choice. But don't expect the other part to come together when you're electing to do the video game first. That's the other part of everybody wants to be David Bowie, but nobody wants to write the songs. Kat says, my dad says if he could do it over again, he wouldn't have kids. Does he really? Ouch. Because you're one of them kids. He said it to you. You know, Dad, one day you're going to be in a home, right? Just saying. No, don't do that. That's unfortunate, Kat. I'm sorry he said that to you. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a bit. Wouldn't change a bit. I'd take all the crap. Recognizing in this hypothetical, you can't change anything. You're not going to change anything. It's not going to happen. If I could do it all over again, it would be the exact same thing, because I don't want to miss the other parts. You got to take the junk with the good. Ideally, you don't have the junk, but sometimes you got to take the junk with the good. Hold on. I've had this turned off for forever. I'm just freeforming it. And does this look anything like the actual place anymore? Yeah. Good enough. We're moving on. Okay, so there's our first panel. And I'm going to draw a couple little fun structures inside of the mountain space here. And just to kick it up just a little bit more. Just to add a little more depth, a little more fun to it. Some silos up the side of it. And then when you're creating things in a sort of abstract, sci-fi world or whatever else, in your head, you're probably figuring out all kinds of, well, this is for this, and this is where all the raw sewage goes, or whatever it is you're thinking. He does, but if you really knew me, in reference to this, if my dad said if you could do it all over again, he wouldn't have kids. Yeah, he does, but he says that. But if you really knew me, here we go. Yeah, 7 agrees. Yeah, I wouldn't change a bit. Sometimes, the challenges, sometimes the hurt, and the pain, and the experiences, those are what made you who you are. That's unfortunate that he says that, Kat. Doesn't matter what you're like. Well, you like. Yeah. It really doesn't matter what you like. That's a challenging thing to say. It'd be worse if he said, I wouldn't change a thing. Well, except for your brother. We wouldn't have had him. Like even that's even worse. It just specifically points out the one kid. Okay, so in 500 years, scientists take a vacay to Peru. So the next panel that I'm going to draw, it's 150. I gotta sign out today because I've been dancing with high and low blood sugar today. I wish my dad was alive so I could remind him exactly how damn lucky he was. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. there's a lot to be said for I was a pretty great kid, wasn't I? That's a great conversation to have when you're looking through brochures for retirement centers with your folks, because they're going to agree. They have to. All right, so the next panel I'm going to draw is a whole bunch of scientists climbing up a hill, and then so on and so forth. Seven says, I was sharing with Janet the other day that we wouldn't change a thing. Yeah, no, you got to go through whatever you're going through. That makes you who you are. That makes you the experiences and the character that we've built in ourselves and the personage that we've become and the skills that we have. That's the journey. That's the things that round you out, that might not round out other people that got it all together when they start. Overly accommodated in childhood tends to motivate or keep from motivating young people. If they get all the things they want, no matter how much a parent says, well, if you want these things for yourself when you're an adult, you got it. No, they're not going to. They're simply not going to, because you're really good at giving it to them. Janet says she was pouring my life out there, wasn't I? You did a really cool stream the other day, and we're showing stuff, and I think you're pretty good. Not too much of a problem growing up there. I was a nightmare. I don't think so, but I moved out young and the whole deal. Took it all on. All right. Okay, so it's 1:51. Oh my God, my ears are they're getting hot. My ears are sweating. Yeah. What's that? Your ears sweating? Does that mean someone talked to you? Is that what one of those things are? Right, Corbin? Corbin agrees. Okay. Do you want to say hi? Come on. Here you go. Hey, everybody. Tell them. No? Sees himself in the camera. Okay. Yeah, all right. I'm going to clock out for today. I will have this done for tomorrow. This is in 500 years. All scientists take a vacay to Peru. I just realized I have drawn every one of the, in 500 years from now, pages at 11 by 17. That just dawned on me. That's kind of fun. Okay. Yeah, so if anybody has any one-page comic suggestions they want to throw at me, let me know. If you have an opportunity, try to listen to some Gordon Lightfoot today and celebrate the life of a creative cat. So, yeah, and other than that, this is a way Seven's fine words. Christopher's turned back into a pumpkin soon. Pumpkin turnovers, yum! Just whoop, left field. Hit those thumbs up. Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, thanks very much, Troy. Yeah, it's been really nice hanging out with everybody. Yeah, I got a little more radical than I normally do about how I feel about the perspective of editors and those outside of making. And with the page that I posted today, if you didn't get a chance to read it in full, go ahead and take a look at it on social media. And if there's anything that you see me doing on any of these one pages, underneath in the comments below on any of the social posting that I do, I always put what the suggestion was for the page. I think I always put it. And if you want to give that suggested idea a try, if it's 3 words or if it's a suggested couple of sentences, take a look. Take a look at those and give it a crack. I'd love to see what you're doing. I'd love anybody that wants to send me pictures and stuff, super. But yeah, let us know. And let's figure out ways that we can to support and encourage each other. And in the meantime, let's all go get some creating done. Sorry, before I go. Hey, handsome. Oh my, hello. Thanks, Christopher. Awesome stream. That's nice of you. Take it easy. Let's turn. There's the turn back into a pumpkin. Hit those likes. Awesome work. Thank you very much. Thanks. See you in Dee Dee's stream. Oh, yes. Go see Dee Dee's stream in the morning. Look back and take a look at the stream that Janet just did. And then is anybody else got some stuff they're posting they want people to see? Let us know in the comments after the video is posted, or in the chat here before it clocks off in 2 seconds. I'll write to you on how to get comics published. Well, take a look at the thing I talked about today, right? And if you've got books that are together, then let me know, and then I'll try to walk you through whatever that process is. But again, depending on where you live, it might be very different, right? Because a lot of us live in lots of different places, and this is how it works in southwestern Ontario, Canada. So it might be different in whatever places people are at. So, but we'll figure those things out. Shouldn't be too much different. In the meantime, get creating. I'll see you tomorrow. I look forward to seeing what you're working on. I'll be back. Well, maybe I will, or maybe I won't see you tomorrow. But I'll be back here at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Take care. Bye for now.